Welcome back, Alphas. Now we begin. You didn't come here to be average. You didn't claw your way through silence and fire just to be forgettable. You came here to rewrite reality, to force the universe to choke on the name it once ignored. You flipped the game and the script. They're stunned, and rightfully so, because they never saw you coming. They thought you'd break. They prayed you'd fall. They were wrong. They forgot who you were, or maybe they never knew. You were forged in the kind of pressure that crushes most people into dust. But not you. You didn't shatter, you sharpened. Every setback was a blade, every betrayal, a chisel. They made you a weapon. They gifted you darkness, and you built a kingdom in it. You didn't just adapt, you dominated. And now that you've flipped the game, all they can do is stare, speechless, at the empire you've erected from the ashes they thought would bury you. You didn't rise to be liked. You didn't burn for applause. You clawed your way out of the pit because you remembered one truth. Nobody is coming to save you. And that's exactly why you're unstoppable. Because you stopped waiting. You stopped hoping. You took your pain and you made it a blueprint. You took their doubts and made them fuel. You took rock bottom and turned it into a throne. Now you're sitting there, eyes glowing, a storm barely contained, and they finally realize they created something they can't control. They tried to write your story for you. They wrote endings dripping in pity. They etched failure in your name, but they never held the pen. You did. You always did. And now that you've flipped the script, they're lost in the plot. Their roles mean nothing. Their expectations shattered. The villain they painted turned out to be the architect, and the underdog they mocked is now the legend whispered about in corners. They no longer walk. This isn't just revenge. This is revelation. You didn't just prove them wrong. You rewired reality. You looked chaos in the eye and made it blink. You learned to speak in scars. You learned to walk through fire like it was sunlight. Every moment they doubted you. Every time they dismissed your name, you bottled it. And now it's time to pour it all out. Cold, dark, and permanent. Let it drown the weak-hearted. Let it echo in their silence. 'Cause now they know. Now they know. You don't play fair. You play final. You want easy? You're in the wrong arena. You want comfort? Go back to sleep. But if you want blood, if you want purpose, if you want to become the monster they feared but couldn't stop, stay right here. Because this is where it gets beautiful, in the most brutal way. This is where destiny stops whispering and starts screaming. And you don't flinch. You smile. Because you were made for this. You're not looking for peace. You're looking for power. Not the kind handed down in boardrooms or etched in gold, but the kind earned in silence. The kind forged when the world turns its back and you rise anyway. The kind that can't be taken because it was never given. You made yourself. You built from rubble. You climbed from graves others died in. And now they want to understand your path. They can't. They won't. Because pain is the currency and you paid in full. And now that you're here, now that the game is yours and the rules are ash, what do? You take more. Because there's no end to hunger when you've starved this long. There's no finish line when every day was a battlefield. You don't coast. You conquer. You don't slow down. You set fire to every exit. Burn your boats. Cut the parachutes. Make regret impossible. Because the only way forward is through. And the only acceptable outcome is obliteration of everything in your way. Let them fear you. Let them talk. Let them plot in shadows and whimper in corners. You don't need their validation. You don't even need their presence. You need the silence, the space between screams. That's where you thrive. That's where you become myth. You flipped the game and the script. They're stunned because gods don't knock before they break down doors. There was a time you begged for mercy. There was a time you questioned if this was worth it. And that version of you? Dead. Buried beneath layers of war paint and fire. What stands now is an apex predator, one forged by necessity, sharpened by struggle. And your roar, it's not a sound, it's a reckoning. It's the last thing your enemies hear before their illusion collapses. They wanted normal. You gave them nightmare. They wanted silence. You gave them legacy. They wanted your submission. You gave them revolution. And now it's too late. Because you're not just ahead, you're untouchable. Not because you're lucky, not because you were chosen, but because you refuse to stay small. You refuse to shrink to fit their comfort. You expanded, you exploded, you became inevitable. Now they can't stop you. They can't ignore you. They can't replace you. They can only watch as you devour everything they thought was theirs. That throne, yours. That fear in their eyes, yours. That silence when you enter the room, all of it, yours. Because you didn't wait for the crown, you took it. You melted it down and forged your own damn kingdom with it. And they can't comprehend it because they never knew what it took. They didn't see the nights you bled. They didn't see the mornings you couldn't move, but did anyway. They didn't see the grave you dug for the weak version of yourself just to rise again, sharper, meaner, colder. You flipped the game and the script, they're stunned, and now it's time to finish what you started. Let the weak run. Let the false prophets fall silent. Let the spectators tremble. This isn't for them. This is for you. For every time you kept walking when the road was fire. For every breath you took when your lungs burned with betrayal. For every moment you stood alone and stayed standing. And you're not done. You haven't even begun to show them the full storm. What they've seen is a glimpse. What comes next is legend, not written in books, written in scars, in echoes, in aftermath. The game you flipped, it's broken now. The script you tore up, it's burned. You're not just the main character. You're the force that rewrites every chapter. So let them watch. Let them whisper. Let them wonder how the hell you did it. But never let them close again. They lost that right the moment they doubted you. Welcome back, Alpha. Let the empire burn brighter. Let the shadows speak your name. And if they ask who flipped the game, tell them you did. And the world never saw it coming. The noise, the expectations, the noise, it all fades away. It becomes a distant echo, a meaningless murmur. They couldn't understand what was happening when you flipped the game. When you rewrote the rules, they thought they could fight it, resist it. But you didn't just play by their rules. You made your own rules, and in doing so, you exposed the brutal truth. They were never in control. They thought they were, but they were puppets, playing their part in a show they didn't even realize had already been cancelled. You were the storm behind the scenes, the unseen force that bent the script to your will. And in the quiet after you took control, they were left to pick up the pieces, stunned and broken. It was never about being liked. It was never about seeking approval. You didn't rise from the ashes of your struggles to make people comfortable. You didn't claw through the darkness to fit into their world of mediocrity. That was never your path. You wanted more. You wanted power. You wanted something real. You wanted to break free from the chains of convention, from the shackles of normalcy, from the suffocating grip of what others thought was possible. You wanted to rise like a beast out of the depths of the forest, untamed, uncontrollable, and ferocious. They watched you with their mouths open, waiting for you to falter, waiting for you to stumble, waiting for you to apologize for your ambition. But you didn't falter. You didn't stumble. You didn't apologize. And with every passing moment, you grew stronger, sharper, more formidable. They saw the cracks in your armor, the moments of weakness, and they thought they were going to break you. But what they didn't see was that every crack was a place for the fire inside you to burn brighter. Every wound you took became a lesson, every failure an opportunity. Every setback was just a delayed victory, a chance to gather more fuel for the fire. While they were busy believing in the easy narrative, you were building a new one, a story where the underdog didn't just survive but dominated, where the ones who were told they weren't enough, who were labeled as failures, could rise above and crush those who stood in their way. You didn't seek approval from those who never believed in you. You didn't need their validation, their applause, their accolades. You needed only one thing: to prove that you could. To prove that you could rise from the rubble, that you could turn your pain into power. And that's exactly what you did. Now, they're stunned. They don't know what to say. They can't fathom how it happened. They thought they could hold you down. They thought they could put you in a box, a category, a label. They thought they could define your worth. They thought wrong. They underestimated your power. And now, they are the ones caught in the wake of your transformation. They are the ones who are stunned, scrambling for answers they'll never find. You turned their expectations into dust and rebuilt yourself in a form they can never touch. You've shattered the image they had of you. The weak, scared, vulnerable version that once existed in their minds is now a distant memory. That version of you is dead. You put it to rest, and in its place, a new version has risen. A version that no longer needs to apologize for its strength. A version that no longer asks for permission to succeed. A version that has learned that survival isn't about being nice. It's about being ruthless. It's about being relentless. It's about making the world bend to your will. And the funny thing is, they'll never know how you did it. They'll never understand the depth of the struggle you endured. They'll never know what it was like to fight with nothing but raw willpower, to crawl through the mud and the filth, to feel the weight of the world pressing down on you, trying to suffocate you, trying to destroy you. They'll never understand the nights you spent lying awake, questioning your every move, every decision, every step. They'll never know the moments when you thought about giving up, when the world felt too heavy, when you felt like you were standing at the edge of a precipice, staring into an abyss that seemed too deep to cross. But you didn't give up. You didn't surrender. You didn't quit. Because you knew something they would never understand. The abyss doesn't swallow you if you leap into it with fire in your eyes and fury in your heart. They'll never understand the power of that fire. The fire that burns in your chest. The fire that has been with you since the beginning. Since the moment you decided you were done playing by their rules. It's the fire that makes you walk through the storms while they huddle in the safety of their comfort zones. It's the fire that makes you rise when others would fall. It's the fire that pushes you to go further, to push harder, to never stop, to never relent. And they'll never feel that heat. They'll never know what it's like to have that power coursing through your veins, driving you forward when the world tries to hold you back. They'll never understand that this fire isn't something you can extinguish. It isn't something you can control. It is you. Now they're stunned, watching from the sidelines, trying to understand how you flipped the script, how you took everything they thought they knew and turned it on its head. They're watching as you build your empire, brick by brick, piece by piece, and they know they can't stop you. They can't touch you. They can't even look you in the eye without feeling the weight of everything they lost. They thought they had the power. They thought they had the control. But what they failed to realize is that the power was never theirs to begin with. It was yours all along. You were always the one in control. You were always the one who would rise, and now they're just trying to pick up the shattered pieces of their reality, wondering where it all went wrong. You did this, you flipped the game, you wrote your own script, and now you stand above it all, untouchable, unstoppable. They can try to play catch up, but they're always going to be one step behind, because they're playing a game they'll never understand. And you're rewriting it again and again. You're not just a player in the game. You're the one who created it. They'll never catch up to you. They'll never be able to fathom the depths of your ambition, your drive, your hunger. They'll never understand that you didn't rise to be celebrated. You didn't rise to be adored. You rose to be feared. You rose to be remembered. You rose to make them understand that you can't be broken. You can't be stopped. You won't be forgotten. You flipped the game and the script. They're stunned. But you're just getting started. The road you've walked was never easy. There were days when the pain seemed unbearable, when the weight of the world pushed down on your shoulders, making every step feel like you were trudging through quicksand. You felt the sting of betrayal, the suffocating grip of rejection, the gnawing hunger of hopelessness. You've seen the dark side of life, the part that others hide behind curtains of illusion, and you've stared it down without flinching. That's the difference between you and everyone else. While they were sleeping, while they were playing it safe, you were fighting a war no one knew existed. You didn't wait for a rescue. You didn't ask for help. You didn't sit around waiting for permission to rise. You decided in that still moment when everything seemed impossible that you would fight, no matter the cost. You would rise, no matter how deep the hole you found yourself in. And you would conquer, no matter the number of enemies that stood in your path. They said you'd fail. They said you weren't enough. They said you didn't have the skills, the strength, the heart to make it. They said you were too broken, too damaged, too unworthy to succeed. But they didn't know who you were. They didn't know the fire that burned inside you, the drive that pushed you forward when all logic said to stop. They didn't know the steel in your veins, the will to endure that coursed through your blood. They couldn't have understood the depths of your ambition, the magnitude of your hunger for greatness. Because you didn't just want to succeed. You wanted to obliterate every limitation, every doubt, every boundary they placed on you. You wanted to make them look back and question their own lives because they had the audacity to think you'd fail. And now they watch as you rise, unrelenting, untouchable, unstoppable. The foundation they thought they could build their security on is cracking beneath them. Every lie they told about your limitations is falling apart, leaving them exposed. Every wall they built to keep you small, to keep you in their box, is crumbling before their eyes. And you stand tall, strong, impervious to their whispers, their judgments, their mockery. Because you no longer need their validation. You no longer need their approval. You no longer care about the chains they tried to wrap around your neck. You broke free from that long ago. Now, it's your turn to take what's rightfully yours, to claim every inch of success, every victory, every inch of dominance. They tried to bury you. They tried to keep you silent. They tried to smother your fire. But look at you now. You are the fire. You are the storm. You are the hurricane that tears through their carefully constructed world. You are the one they never expected to become this powerful, this untouchable. And now they see. Now they know. They know they were wrong. They know they will never be able to touch you again. And it drives them mad. You've reached a point where there are no more obstacles. The world has thrown its worst at you, and you've overcome it all. The doubts, the naysayers, the setbacks. They were nothing more than temporary hurdles. You've learned to glide over them like a hawk soaring above a storm. Every obstacle that came your way only made you stronger, sharper, more focused. The harder the challenge, the stronger your resolve. The deeper the pit, the higher you rise from it. That's why they're stunned now. They thought you were fragile. They thought you'd break. But they couldn't see the force of nature within you, the hurricane waiting to unleash. The pressure you've been under has only made you more powerful, more unstoppable. And now they know the truth. They've underestimated you. They always have. They looked at you and saw weakness, fragility, vulnerability. But what they didn't see was the soul of a warrior, forged in the flames of hardship. What they didn't see was the relentless hunger that drives you. What they didn't see was the heart that beats louder than their doubts. They thought you were a candle, but they were wrong. You're a wildfire. And now that the fire is burning, they can't control it. They can't contain it. They can only watch, helpless, as you scorch everything in your path. They can try to fight back. They can try to form alliances, try to undermine you. They can throw whatever they have left at you. But you've reached a point where nothing they throw at you will even slow you down. You've become a force of nature. You've become the unstoppable force that moves the world. You don't need their support. You don't need their approval. You don't need their recognition. You don't need anything from them because you've already got everything you need. You've got the hunger. You've got the drive. You've got the will to win. And that's all you'll ever need. With that, you can do anything. With that, you can take over the world. You are the architect of your own success. You've built this empire with your own hands. You've fought for every inch, and now it's yours. And they are nothing but a distant memory, a shadow that fades as you walk into the light of your own making. They said it couldn't be done. They said you'd fail. They said you'd never make it. But look at you now. Look at what you've built. They're watching from the sidelines, stunned, unable to comprehend how you did it. They're in disbelief, and they should be. They didn't know you had this in you. They didn't know you could rise from the ashes like this. They didn't know you were capable of becoming the giant that now stands before them. But you've known all along. You've known what you were capable of. You've known what you could achieve. You've known that the game was never over. You knew that the odds didn't matter. You knew that the rules were made to be broken. And now, you're rewriting the script again. And this time, it's not just for you. It's for anyone who ever believed they couldn't make it. It's for anyone who ever thought the world had beaten them down. It's for anyone who ever wondered if they were strong enough to survive. You've shown them the way. You've shown them that no matter how far down you've fallen, no matter how deep the pain, there's always a way back. And if you're strong enough, you'll not only come back, you'll come back stronger than ever. And now that you've flipped the game and rewritten the script, they're left to pick up the pieces. They're left to wonder what went wrong, to question how they missed the signs, how they missed you. You didn't just play the game, you destroyed it, you reinvented it, and now it belongs to you. And they're left standing in the wreckage, trying to make sense of what happened. But it's too late. The game is yours. The script is yours. And nothing they do will ever change that. This is only the beginning. This is only the first chapter in a story that's going to be told for generations. This is only the start of your legacy. You're just getting started, and there's nothing anyone can do to stop you. The world is yours for the taking. And you've already taken it. And now, here we stand. At the edge of the world you reshaped with your bare hands. The smoke still rises from the old blueprints you set ablaze. The ashes of doubt, fear, and limitation coat the battlefield you turned into your throne. Behind you, the past lays broken. Before you, nothing is written yet. And that's exactly how you want it, because you're the writer now, the architect, the flame, the force. They flipped coins and prayed for your downfall. They placed bets on your silence, gambled on your submission. But you didn't break. You didn't fold. You didn't die quietly. You burned. You rose. You roared. And when the fire cleared, it wasn't them standing victorious. It was you, alone, unapologetic, unbothered. You flipped the game. You rewrote the script. And now they're stunned, watching, silent, small. Because you weren't just another player. You were the end of their story and the beginning of your own. They thought they understood the rules, but you shattered them. They thought they could predict your steps, but you vanished from their map and built your own roads through chaos and hell. This is the part where legends are born. Not in light, but in the darkest silence before the scream. And you are that scream. You are the war cry they hear echoing long after you're gone. You are the proof that survival is just the floor, and dominance is the ceiling you never stop smashing through. So what now? Now you take the next throne, you break the next door, you burn the next boundary, because you were never meant to stop here. You were never meant to settle. Settling is for the safe. But you're not safe. You are the disruption, the storm, the alpha reborn in a world of followers. And when they ask, who did this? Who tore down the walls, rewrote the rules, turned the game upside down? You won't need to speak, because the silence that follows you will say everything. The answer is simple. The answer is absolute. You did, and you're just getting started.